Hi, everyone. Carl Steinbeck here. Welcome Friday night for coverage of the Adelson murder case. We have an upcoming trial for Donna Adelson, second of the Adelsons, to be charged with the murder of FSU law professor Dan Markell, who just 7 days from now, it'll be 10 years ago that he was murdered in his garage. And we only have one Adelson convicted, but we have more on the way. So I'm here to cover the latest news that we heard. There was a posting of additional witnesses by the state. Those are category A witnesses. Category A witnesses, as opposed to B and C, those are ones that would require a deposition or at least authorize the other party to conduct a deposition. And first up, we do have Charlie Adelson, no one other than Charlie Adelson listed as the first witness on there. And they'll note his attorney is Daniel Rochbaum, who strangely enough has also represented his mother here for this upcoming trial. And so whether he actually testifies or not remains to be seen. I'm not under the belief and assumption that they can force him to testify like they can Wendy because he's already been convicted. But if he does testify, I think it would be very beneficial to the state to get his absolutely out of this world crazy story of how he was supposedly how he was basically robbed, but they're trying to call it an extortion. It doesn't meet the definition of extortion. Extortion means you've actually done something that the other party knows about, and they use that as leverage against you. So Charlie hasn't done anything that would be considered leverage to use against him, where he would have gone to the police. So he's willing to cough up $250,000 and avoid turning in the folks that Katie McBanwell had actual knowledge of. It's who committed the murder of Professor Markell. So it's so preposterous and outrageous that go ahead and call him if you can get him. Maybe Charlie's willing to testify. And so I think that would be, that's a smart move by the prosecution. I do think that just having him there, I think he's probably going to be in the Leon County jail because I think every other place is going to be too much having a threat out there from the Latin King. So they'll probably keep him there in Leon County jail for a period of time, deciding whether they were going to call him or not. And also perhaps you never know if Rochbaum will want to call him as well for their case in chief in the event that Sarah and Georgia don't call him as a witness. But the thing is, what I've said before is anytime you get an Adelson testifying on this case, good things happen for the prosecution and for justice. So if Charlie gets on there, just his demeanor, the way he comes across, his cocky attitude, his flippant attitude, just absolutely atrocious, cringeworthy stuff if you're a defense attorney, and you really cannot coach anybody out of this. It's so ingrained in him. So it'd be a good thing for the state, and anything he says, it would be really something that that is going to be beneficial because he's not going to be liked, and there's going to be a spillover effect that carries over to his mom. So I think with that being said, all right, I'm listening to some folks saying about the sound. Yeah, I got a new sound thing here that John gave me. The other one was fizzling out. So if you cannot hear me, if there's much of an echo, some of you are saying it's good. So maybe I'll move the mic back a little bit. So in any event, I think Charlie just being there is going to rattle Donna. It's going to throw, I think, Rochbaum off his A game from having to try to juggle these two clients, wondering who to please what. Is Charlie going to be demanding to testify for his mom and trying to drive a train and all that kind of stuff? I mean, it's just sort of like a crazy hot mess is the easy way to say it. So I would say that, hold on a second, Ben's trying to join in here. Go ahead, Ben. The other thing we have is keep in mind, Charlie's story, he's already been convicted. So when he testifies, he's going to be in the Leon County Jail prisoner garb, or else if he's at a local state prison, he's going to be coming in prison garb. And so him testifying under those conditions for his mom's trial, it's going to be a sight to behold. And it's going to really get the jury's attention. And like I say, it's going to have a subconscious as well as conscious spillover effect. And him saying that wild story in that kind of outfit is going to be something to see. That's all I can say. So in any event, Donna is going to be looking forward to seeing her son. Maybe she's going to encourage Rashbaum to have him testify as well. So whatever happens with regard to Charlie being there, whether he testifies for the prosecution or for the defense, it's going to be an excellent time for the prosecution, and it's going to help drive home the final coffins in the case against Donna Adelson. And so the other key thing to keep in mind is you may wonder, well, Charlie didn't admit to anything. He didn't want to fess up to anything. He's not gonna go off his story that he told before. So how's that really helpful to the prosecution? It is helpful because they can poke more holes in it. Think about it. Georgia could do better cross-examination this time, or Sarah could. And some of the things they never really pushed the button on, and they were caught off guard. If you recall, when Charlie was asked about the TV code, he said that, oh, that was just a bad choice of words by Donna. This is referring to the FBI wiretap. After they did the bump, they had this wiretap and on Donna, and Donna's calling up Charlie right away, talking in code and very nervous about revealing too much. So, the kind of things they could really do a deep dive on for like 15, 20, even 30 minutes is what I'd be looking at if I was prosecuting this case. I'd just be asking them all about that code, going down questions like, oh, it's just a coincidence. Oh, well, she said it more than once. What did you think the first time she said it? And not only did she say it a second time, she also adds the fact that TV for 5. So he just tried to gloss that over, and Georgia didn't do a deep dive on that. So I think if she focuses on more of the areas that are a target-rich environment to go after Charlie, I think it's going to be a really, really interesting time to show what Charlie's all about in front of the jury. And that, you also have the issue even about him agreeing to pay $350,000 to these so-called robbers that he's never even seen before, and it's just a Katie conduit kind of thing. So it's just so far-fetched and ludicrous. I mean, anybody in their right mind would be going, wait a minute, I got to call the cops. This is not legit. You're saying that these are the guys that killed Professor Markell up there. I'm calling 911, and we're making. I got the credibility. Keep in mind, Charlie was bragging about how, as a oral surgeon, if there's a dead gangbanger in his driveway, they're not going to question him. They're going to think his word is golden. They're not going to scrutinize it at all. So why wouldn't that apply to someone killing Professor Markell and trying to come after him and saying, hey, we're going to say you did it if you don't fess up, cough up the money. Well, how would he be connected to that? There was no other direct connection to them, right? So they just got to go down the rabbit holes of details better this time. And one of the other things that they could ask about is like, well, you agreed to pay $350,000. Well, at what point would it have stopped? So would you have called the police? So if they upped it to $1 million, would he have called the police? And just see what he says. What about $2 million? How many millions of dollars could they have extracted from you before you wake up and call the police? And just start sounding incredulous about it if you're Georgia or Sarah, whoever it is. So I've been saying that they shouldn't be taking this defense too serious the way they question. You can do it professional, but also have a mocking, sort of a sarcastic tone and a bewilderment tone when you're cross-examining something that's so absolutely ridiculous like this. I've sort of equated it to if John calls, testifies and said, well, basically, I think an alien came down and did this, and it wasn't me, or it was Bigfoot or something like that. You would not seriously cross-examine something that ridiculous. You would be really having a really questionable type of demeanor about you'd be scoffing at it in so many words. So I hope they have that sort of like scoffing attitude, and it's sort of like they realize to the jury that you can't take this seriously, and they take it more in what I would say like a light, sort of a humor kind of way, but still having that professional decorum that's appropriate for a murder trial. So it's all about how you package your questioning and stuff like that. So I hope they really focus on some more of these details. And so whenever Charlie testifies, if he testifies for the state or for the defense, and if this even happens, be ready to go after him and gun him down. And I think that'll be a great sight to see. The other thing to keep in mind is we have the next witness is another Adelson. This one is the Honorable Dr. Rob Adelson. He's on the witness list. That's something I've been calling for a long time. They should have called Dr. Rob at the previous trials. They didn't call him in Charlie's. They really need to do it for Donna. I mean, this would be such a huge thing for him to talk about the dynamics and behavior of the other Adelsons after Dan was murdered. So he basically cut off contact with them because he knew that they had been a part of this. So as tough as it would be for him emotionally to realize, hey, I'm being subpoenaed to testify against my mom, he realizes that he's also standing up for justice, and he's an honorable kind of guy, has nothing to do with the character of these other Adelsons. And he is basically going to set down the scene of how they were basically acting so guilty after the murder happened to Professor Markell that it's going to leave no doubt in the jury's mind that Donna was behind it, and they're going to think the others were behind it as well, the Florida Adelsons, that is. So I applaud the prosecution for calling Dr. Rob Adelson, and this is another sign that they're really ramping up and being more aggressive than they have been in the past. And that's what you need to. That's what you need to do. Don't pull back any punches. You need to go after it and just mow them down on the witness box. Any kind of lies that the Adelson's trying to throw up, just go after them with a vengeance on cross-examination and take no prisoners. So with that, I'm going to talk about also we have. Oh shoot, my mic. Someone's saying my mic isn't plugged in, but it actually is. So I don't know what to say. So sorry if I sound like I'm in a well. So in any event, let me go to the other witnesses. I do have let's see here. There's an attorney named Thomas Gano, not sure of pronunciation, but he's a lawyer in Miami. I also saw he at one time worked at the state attorney's office. So I know which he is. So we don't have any insights on what that might be. Maybe he's going to talk about things in general, about the kind of things that that maybe Wendy would have faced for the state bar, or things of that nature. We also have, which I think is really key, Tera Kaah. So Tera Kaah was the lead attorney for Katie McBanois. And with Katie, keep in mind, she was the one that had basically a get out of jail free card, and she refused to cooperate and testify to go see her two kids. And she instead stayed there in the Leon County Jail for many years, waiting her trial, and then another retrial a couple years after that. So she spent all this time when she could have gotten out of jail and been with her kids. So what was really the driving force to make her not roll over and tell the truth about the Adelson's involvement, and them hiring her to be the go-between between her and the killer? So I think Tera Kaah is a very aggressive move by the state, and I think that's really going to be a gold mine for him, because Tera is going to basically be able to maybe set the scene as to things that were offered to her, or things that were suggested that they'd be willing to do, or maybe there's some money that the Adelsons did in fact pay for the defense of these two murder cases. Think about how much time and effort and what money it would normally cost for two attorneys, and actually three attorneys, to be representing Katie McBanois, who really otherwise had no other funds. Now, supposedly her sister embezzled a bunch of funds, but I do think that Tera would only be called there if there's some kind of thing like that to imply the Adelsons were up to something to lock horns, if you will, with the other defense team. Because think about it, why would you join up with the defense attorneys that are accused of actually killing your grandson's father? There's no other reason unless you're guilty of something involved in that murder. So that's why I think the state is going after it from that angle. So I think it's a really smart, aggressive move. All right, let me go ahead and see who's next on this list. Okay, then we have Francis McBanois. That's the brother of Katie McBanois. So he's probably going to testify more along the same kind of thing, that that he was offered money or as a conduit to pay for things for Katie, pay for attorneys, and maybe Donna was the actual one that reached out to him, or Charlie. So I think that's another sign of aggressive move by the state. I welcome that. I think we're going to have even more credible information from Katie this time around. Hopefully, she will testify this time around again, and that's going to bode well for the prosecution. It's also going to show how ridiculous this whole thing about this bogus extortion defense is. Then we also have a forensic digital consultant for the Tallahassee Police Department. That's Lee Pierce. So he's probably going to talk about some of the stuff that they seized from the house there, the high rise of Harvey and Donna after they were seized at the airport, trying to take off and flee the country for Vietnam. So I think there's going to be some good damaging information to help seal Donna's fate for that. We also have Lisa Shelby, I think is the way you pronounce it. She was a interim associate dean at FSU Law School. So I think I don't know if she is actually if she works in the law. I take that back. I don't know if she's at the law school, or I don't know if she's at the social workers department. So if she was at the law school, then obviously she could talk about things involving Dan being hired and Wendy being hired only because of Dan, and the fact that Wendy could have been fired if Dan complained about her. I guess he was alluding in his motions filed in March, a few months before he was murdered. So, and if this is somebody maybe that works with Jeff Lacasse, and maybe this is somebody that can corroborate something to Jeff Lacasse. So I think it's a good aggressive move again by the prosecution. It looks like they're really upping their game. They may not call these witnesses, but I just think this is an encouraging sign. We also have Sarah Youssef. She's a friend of Wendy's. She's an attorney for a justice research group out in California. So the fact that she's a friend of Wendy, I think, is another good sign that they're going after Wendy. So don't know exactly what she's going to say, but I know that the Adelsons attended her wedding many years ago. There's some photos of Charlie and some of the other Adelsons I remember that were in in attendance at that wedding reception. And then, of course, we have June Mchida. She's going to testify again. This was Charlie's girlfriend, and she's going to talk about different things that she did last time. So I won't do an overview of that. But then we also have a Scott Radius. So I've not seen his name before. He's a nightclub manager at the Vibe Music Lounge in the Miami area. So this may be having something to do with things that he observed about the Adelsons. Maybe have something to do with Charlie making some kind of comment or admission, or Wendy, or some kind of interest, or them talking secretly at the club. The back of my mind is thinking Georgia had asked Wendy about something about talking at a nightclub or something. That strikes me as something that I recalled. So in any event, I guess some of you are having mic issues, but in any event, that's my comments I have tonight in a nutshell for these witnesses. And we still will talk more about the upcoming list for the defense team, what they submit for Donna Adelson. And I think it's going to be the same thing like Charlie for hers, is that they're going to have a number of people listed, but most of them won't be called. If you recall, Rashban was saying to the judge before Charlie's trial, months before, that it could take up to 3 weeks for his witnesses to testify. And what he wind up with, just Charlie and one other witness, which would happen to be Wendy's attorney. So I think the same kind of thing is probably going to apply here. You're not going to see much for Donna because there's not really much you have to work with. And they'll put probably a lot of the same witnesses on the state. I can tell you as an attorney, especially on a murder case, you don't want to have like a real bare bones skeleton list of witnesses. So it's all about trying to psych out your opponent and make them think, well, maybe our witnesses aren't that strong, and maybe we need to circle back. Maybe we don't need to call the witness. So there's a lot of jockeying around and strategies like that. I'm putting somebody's witness, hoping that they don't call them, and then playing the second, third order effects of that. So in any event, this case is coming rapidly upon us. And so I'll be having more coverage on this. And so for right now, I'm going to go ahead and jump to questions. if you have any questions, go ahead and if you can put a red emoji there so I can distinguish between comments among yourselves and also questions you have for me. All right, let's see here. Yeah, Deborah Neva saying, it is learned that the Adelsons paid for Katie's attorney. How much impact will that have at the trial? I alluded to that earlier. Why would you pay for some defense team of someone that's accused of murdering your grandsons if you're Donna, right? Your grandson's father. There's no reasonable basis for that, unless you wanted to pay for the best lawyers money could buy to help that person keep quiet and not divulge the fact that they were involved in the murder at the request and hiring of the Florida Adelson. So that's a huge impact. And like I say, it's a very aggressive move by the prosecution, and it's the right move to do, assuming that evidence is out there. I don't know for sure what she's going to say, but it makes me think that there is something out there about this, because normally that you're not going to call an attorney for that unless there's some kind of corroboration for the client. So in any event, it's a good sign. Sample one is saying that Georgia either chose not to pounce on it or missed it with that in the opportunity when Charlie said about Wendy and the TV. I wish she would have chosen a different word. So it was actually talking about his mom mentioning TV on the telephone line that was wiretapped by the FBI. And so he meant, like I say, he mentioned the TV twice, as well as, or she did. And she also mentioned TV for $5, meaning $5,000. So obviously that's a code. Only somebody trying to avoid police detection, eavesdropping, wiretaps kind of thing would be worried about having to talk in code. Think about it. The Latin Kings, those kind of people, they don't have the ability to do wiretaps. There's no technology available for them. So the only thing they're worried about was hiding from the police, hiding from the wiretaps. And that just absolutely reeks totally of consciousness of guilt. Yeah, and I can also say, as to Georgia choosing not to, I think what happened is, and I've talked about this before, it really irks me when I see lawyers, trial attorneys having a list of questions and they go right down the list, because invariably what happens is they miss a lot of golden nuggets like the TV one, for an example. That's a perfect example. What happens is, what I see happening is attorneys are so focused on the next question, they're only half listening to the witness on the stand because they want to run it so smooth. They're more concerned about having a smooth flow with questions than they are the actual substance of the answer. And so when Charlie said, "Oh, that's a bad choice of words," right there, even if you were going to follow a script, I would say an attorney should deviate from the script at that point and just do like a absolute deep dive into that kind of questioning about something that is so critical to the case. I mean, the TV code is so critical to prove that Donna was involved, that Wendy was involved, and Charlie as well. So that's really something that unites all three of them, and in their consciousness of guilt. So I think that Wendy, I don't think she intentionally did that. I think she's probably kicking herself because she didn't do a deep follow-up on that. So I think she's not going to miss that this time around. So either her or Sarah will actually absolutely go into a lot more details for that. But it always is harder when you follow a script, because what happens is, if you notice before the person's even answering, the attorney many times is looking down at their legal pad to see what the next question is, because they don't want to have a pause. They're thinking that their momentum is better than the actual substance of the answer. But so anyway, I just think that it's much better to have themes you talk about, have a few 5 themes to talk about on your cross-examination of something like Charlie. And actually, so much about the case that those themes would probably pop off in your mind and you wouldn't need anything to jog your memory. But, I'd have things like talking in code, talking about the TV, talking about the why would you need to talk in code? Because, like I say, they can't. The Latin Kings can't conduct eavesdropping, and so you have all these different main focus areas, and just go after those with a vengeance on cross-examination. So that would have been much more fruitful cross-examination. But as I've said before, when watching the trial, Georgia did good enough because Charlie basically sunk himself. He had too many glib answers for everything. Patricia Mueller, Wendy is on the witness list. I haven't seen in a while, but yeah, she would be on the witness list. So even if she has moved or will move, she's going to have to show up to court. She cannot move out of state and avoid that subpoena. Excuse me. He is saying that Tera Kaah did say emphatically in court that Charlie or the Adelsons were responsible. And Katie, this was during a direct with Katie. Yeah, but keep in mind, if Katie was hired by them and Katie's lying about it, then it's easy to point the finger and act like you're innocent. It was all such a terrible job of lawyering. I would say it's like the worst case of lawyering you could ever imagine, because she, like I say, she could walk out of jail free. And what did her team of lawyers of 3 do for her? They advised her in the outcome that was life without parole. So I've never seen such a horrendous outcome that just shocks your conscience like that. Julie O'Keefe is asking us when you've been disbarred. No, they don't do the disbarment kind of thing unless normally there's some kind of court action or if there's some kind of complaint by the local bar. And to my knowledge, there's not been any of that, and they would probably wait to see if she's charged anyway. So, as I've said before, they really need to charge her with perjury, in addition to the three charges that they have to convict Charlie, and also the same 3 they have against Donna now in their upcoming trial. Okay, just take me dancing. You're asking about Harvey. I did a standalone video on him a few months ago. So if you look at this channel, I just covered all the indicators, actually not all of them, but a number of indicators for Harvey as well that show his involvement. So there's not as much evidence on the others, but there's still enough there that I think it's definitely something worth pursuing for the state. All right, Teresa M is asking what defines a hostile witness. A hostile witness is a witness that you call that you're trying to extract information from, and then they actually start shutting down on you and being evasive or not cooperative, and then you basically ask the court for permission to treat them as a hostile witness, which basically allows you to cross-examine them. So normally on a direct examination of your own witness, you ask open-ended questions, but if the open-ended questions are not being productive because a witness is shutting down on you and flipping their story or changing their story somehow that's hurting you, calling them as a witness, and you can ask to have them treat as hostile witness, which basically opens the door to you having more of a cross-examination style, which is loaded questions, leading questions, as opposed to open-ended questions that are not suggesting of the likely outcome or answer. All right, so this is Tattletale's asking why Wendy's on list. There's another list out there previous to this, so that's something to keep in mind. Anthony's asking about Dr. Robert Adelson, asking us about the murder and the suspicion. He cut off contact with him. That's the information I have gathered, and so he would be an absolute key witness to show how strange they were acting consistent with having consciousness of guilt for the murder. So. And to have a family member and somebody that in an honorable position and so educated as him to be willing to come down from up in the Northeast to help testify against your mother. I mean, think about that. How often does that happen? Really a rare feat, but he's I just sense he's a really stand-up guy and he's willing to do the right thing, no matter the outcome for his mother. Gia saying, you think that these witnesses are called based on the various communications that might have been in different accounts, stuff like that. That's a possibility. I just don't know. So that remains to be seen. So let's see here. All right, True Crime Wifey's asked about whether this witness list applies to other cases or not. No, you just have a standalone witness list for each trial. So this is very much similar to Charlie's, but they do have new witnesses to add based also on them trying to flee the country for Vietnam. All right, some of you all saying there's sound issues. I apologize for that. I got the new device, but yeah, I'm so tired. I agree with you. This trial will show two different brothers, one who stayed and one who left. And yeah, it's talk about diametrically opposed type character. Omar Little saying that WhatsApp has been discussed a lot and questioned by Wendy in the last trial. There may be something holding it back, some kind of evidence. Yeah, I hope there is. I hope there is. I do not know. I've not seen any notification that they have evidence of such. Andrew's asking what kind of sentence could be reduced if Charlie cooperates. Well, I think that there's not going to be any like negotiated agreement on what he would get. I think you just have to throw himself on the mercy of the court after he's done cooperating, and the judge would decide if anything gets reduced at all. And then his defense attorney would make a pitch to the judge and say how he cooperated and how he helped bring down his mom and that kind of stuff. So I don't see him cooperating. So is it possible? Yes. I just don't see him doing it yet. But I think he's going to want to wait to see his appellate case flushed out first. And, if he agrees to cooperate too late, they'll probably already have Wendy convicted by the time he makes that decision. But having mom convicted and Wendy not, yeah, that's going to be really tempting for him. So maybe it'll happen before his appeal is final. It will be interesting to see. Dave, you're saying you like Georgia. Absolutely. We all like Georgia. I mean, she's a terrific person, a terrific attorney, very likable. Likability is like absolutely crucial as a state attorney. She's not the kind of person to do anything shady or underhanded to trample on a defendant's rights. So I have a lot of respect for her in that regard. And you're saying she was too soft on Charlie. Yeah, I agree. It wasn't, she didn't hammer stuff home, but like I say, Charlie at the same time was looking so cocky and arrogant up there. He did not have the really gotcha moments that we would like. But in any event, yeah, they were a joke as answers, and yeah, she didn't pounce on like she could have. But I think that's gonna change this time around, like I'm saying. So let's see here. Rethink CPS is asking if I get any chatter from Tallahassee. Do I communicate with FSU people or others there in town? There's some information I once in a while get from people that bump into maybe Judge Everett and they show a picture of him doing something with his kids at a ball game or something like that. Once in a while, I hear of things, but it's not something that is on a regular basis. But once in a while, I do find out something. But it's the kind of stuff you guys are also going to hear about on other channels as well that get information. So yeah, trials in September is definitely getting close. Julie Keefe is asking, how does Wendy avoid the paparazzi? I don't think there's any paparazzi around her, and so I think that's part of sort of like something that's pretty amazing that more people are knowing who she is and putting that kind of stuff out there. Okay, Joe Argos. Yeah, thanks for bringing this up. Charlie's first lawyer is on the list. So that's that Marcos guy. I think it's David Marcos. And this guy is probably the most expensive lawyer in all of Florida. He's got a great track record as a defense counsel. He was Charlie's counsel originally, but at some point he basically dropped Charlie as a client. I doubt it was because of the money issue, but he's the one that also signed off on that declaration saying how both him and all the other lawyers for the Adelsons. So you got him, you got Rajpam, you got Wendy's attorney, John Laurel. They all like had this joint statement talking about how all the Adelsons are innocent. And so think about it. At the time that was written, and it was like, when was that? Sometime after the murder. Charlie already supposedly knew about this extortion attempt, and yet he never told his attorney. And so that's something that might be worthwhile bringing up at trial as well, is that universally signed note by all the Adelson's lawyers basically was trying to hoodwink everybody into thinking that, they don't know anything about this. They have no idea what's going on up in Tallahassee. They have no kind of connection with these people at all. And yet at the very time that's going on, Charlie's been making payments to the killers. I mean, that's going to knock over well to the jury. So that's something that might be beneficial to bring out as well. Sandy's asking about the post-conviction jail calls between Charlie and Donna. And I think that there's not a whole lot maybe to bring out there, except maybe Donna and her talking about going to Vietnam. I think the real struggle, though, is that when you have somebody talking about their attorney and indicating their attorney could be involved in that, I don't, it's sort of dicey for me if I was a prosecutor of this in Texas, because you don't really want to make it look like their attorney was coaching them to commit a crime or escaping the jurisdiction, even if it's not a crime. And I know Stephen Webster, the attorney for Dan Markell, who did testify at Charlie's trial for the state, he indicated, that's really something that is questionable ethics-wise for the Florida State Bar Ethics. So I'm not licensed in Florida, so I won't comment on that. But he's commented on it and said that was troubling from an ethical standpoint. Teresa M., is it true that sometimes attorneys will interrupt each other with objections just to break their momentum? Yeah, the one attorney comes to mind that did that all the time. I mean, almost every question was an objection. It was something that really irks me as either a prosecutor, even seen that as a defense attorney, to see people objecting just to try to break your momentum. And so what I do when I do my arguments, I bring that up, that they basically been objecting so many times. The whole thing about objections is I think you have different preferences for attorneys on what to object to and what not to object to. I think that I usually try not to be too objectionable to stuff the other side's doing, unless I really need to object. But if it's like little things like hearsay and stuff like that, there's always exceptions they could come up with. So I don't want to look like I'm too obstructionist from the truth coming out. So it's always worked well for me, where I'm not being too much of a somebody that's constantly objecting and looking like they're just trying to derail the other side's case. As a prosecutor, you should want the defense to be able to present their case and not be hijacked with these ridiculous motions that are really for the most part, they're constantly being overruled. But it's just trying to throw the other side off their game. So yeah, I think it's a really a bad thing for especially prosecutors to do that kind of stunt. Julie Keith is asking her when these calls being screened out. No, there's no kind of search warrant on that on getting access to basically doing wiretaps for Wendy's. There has to be evidence of ongoing crime, and they're not going to have that. They're not going to mess with that. Yeah, I would. That would be nice if Wendy got arrested on the 18th or 19th, wouldn't it? I agree with that. And this has gone on way too long. Yeah, sorry, I don't know why my mic's not working. It is plugged in. Let's see here. I'll double check. Yeah, it's fully plugged in. So I don't know what to tell you all. I apologize. I don't have my my producers here, Brother John and Ben Self Productions, so it's on me. Georgia girl's asking, was Harvey on the witness list? I've not seen him on this list. He wasn't on this list, I should say. He might have been on the earlier one. I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I would put him on the list as well. Marcel's asking how long it would take to see a jury in this case. I think it's going to be similar to Charlie's. It may be a little bit longer because there's a little bit more evidence to present. But and they don't have the New Yorkers coming down, to my knowledge, that New York jury consultant team that had just basically made the courtroom sort of a circus in there. Didn't go over well, and it looks like it didn't help them at all either. Wasted money, in other words. So I think they're just going to split it up between Alex and Rajbaum, Alex Morris, that is. Yeah, that's the other thing. I've said this before. I agree with you, New England forever. This is going to be the last time, if Charlie testifies, the last time she's ever going to see her son. That's my prediction. So, again, another question on wire. Nobody's being wiretapped right now. I can assure you that. Veggie Girl's asking if there was an in-camera discussion between Judge Hankinson and Georgia and Katie's defense about whether the defense Adelsons were funding Katie's legal team. Could that be made public? Well, keep in mind, Georgia wasn't allowed to be part of that. That was in camera, only defense presented information. So Georgia doesn't know the basis for that. And it was actually in a different trial as well. So I'm not, I'm thinking that's not going to come out. If they have independent information that's coming from Tera, then I think that's going to be their workaround. So I don't think they're going to reopen that sealed in-camera hearing. Lily Benjamin's asking what in real life makes a witness hostile. I mean, witnesses get hostile a lot of times. I've had critical witnesses. If I'm interviewing them, they'll say one thing to me that I think is okay. That's not hurtful to my case, and then they get to trial and say something completely different. So that's why what I always do, I never interview a witness by myself, whether I'm a prosecutor or defense attorney, and it's you're setting yourself up to be falsely accused of something. I've seen that before, where I remember I was prosecuting a case, and the witness that was on a defense list. I wanted to see what the relevancy was. Had the person show up to the prosecution office, and I had a couple witnesses with me to sit on the interview, and this witness would not say anything at all. They just like clammed up, would not cooperate, and so I basically encouraged them to cooperate. If they had something helpful for the defense or listed on the defense list, then why not tell me? You know, maybe it could be case dispositive, and I would dismiss the charges or something like that. But they would not talk to me at all. And the next thing you know, the defense attorney is saying I intimidated them and threatened them and all this kind of garbage. And thankfully, I had those witnesses there with me. So, but if somebody's going to come right out and right in line, you know they're lying, then and they're, let's say, your own witness, then you can treat them as hostile. All right, so moving on, we have Omar Little. Yeah, what do you think of Campbell's words with Patty about Wendy being up next? Seems like pretty much a certainty. I would say that I've not talked to Patty. I've heard about that, so I would say that I think it's another good indicator. And you know, I don't know if Campbell is just basically not knowing he's on the record kind of thing, and just maybe trying to like get somebody to get off him from questioning him. But I do think it's a good sign. And I think there are indicators, based also, like I say, on this witness list, that things are going to be circling in around Wendy as well in the very near future. Yeah, so Del Rio, you're saying that you're hoping Georgia wasn't pressing too many follow-up questions for Wendy because she was not on trial and Georgia's holding back to avoid immunity. Well, I can just tell you that in my book would not be a reason to hold back, because if you lie, that you lose your immunity. So the more lies you could pull out of there, the better the chance you have of charging her. And if you did charge her with perjury in a murder case, I wouldn't even be worried about the conviction. I'd just be wanting to get her statements in. I'd want to be doing a video version of it as well, not a transcript. I don't want the actual video testimony where all the time she's lying, just line them up and take little snippets of that, play them to the jury. And I've done that and it's worked well. Sonia, you're asking what is WhatsApp, keep the messages for 10 years. There's certain things that stay on your phone, other ones deleted. I'm not sure all the ins and outs of that, but we did see that in a Murdo case where they did have some, was it Snapchat or WhatsApp? I forget which one, but they were able to extract some information on that, and that was very helpful for the prosecution. So I'm sort of skeptical that we'll have any of that in this trial, but based on some of the questions George had, you would think there was something like that. All right. Sir Tedrick Walker is saying, do you think Charlie will turn on family since it's a matter of time before the Latin Kings get the hit on him? I think that there's a possibility that if his mom goes down, I think that's the most opportune time when he's going to say, you know what, heck with it. I'm more interested in Wendy going down than me getting out. And if I get a chance to see my son sooner, his son Roman sooner, that's his only shot at life without parole. And he may not wait for his appeal to be totally ruled upon. Yeah, Omar, you're asking about how is Wendy not freaking out and scared. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if she's following this or if she's aware of it. I think she's probably like hunkered down and thinks expecting top cover to prevent her from being prosecuted. Yeah, thanks for not holding against me in my sound issue. I'm going to order something new. John gave me something that's a lot better quality, so I hopefully will have that in the next week. All right, here let's jump into some questions here. Yeah, I do have some soundboards up, folks. So sorry. I got a bunch of soundboards up, so I don't know why that's doing that. I think it's maybe because the mic's not working. Then the mic is on this Mac Mini, and it's further away from me. So sound is fine according to some other folks. I don't know how that's possible, but thanks for your support, mods. Trial starts September 17th. Yeah, that's coming up really fast, isn't it? Shane is asking if you're wondering if Tera Kaah will be called. I think she should be called for any of these trials with Adelson's. I think it's very, very much good information to have the jury know what was going on those the first 24, 48 hours after the murder of Professor Markell. Mary Patterson, yes, I do think some of the Markells will be called as witnesses. I think Phil and Ruth should talk about specifically the grandparent alienation. That's very damning against Donna. And yeah, if they don't call him, I'm going to be really disappointed. And also, you got to call him to humanize the victim. And if you think about it, no family member testified in the case in chief for the prosecution on the trial against Charlie Adelson. So was it absolutely necessary? No, but I think just doing a little bit of coverage for the from the family to testify, and I think when the jury sees the hate that Donna has towards Phil and Ruth, I think that's going to be really telling. It's something like it's just like one thing like that, from my experience, can make the difference between win and lose in a case. Now, granted, we got way more evidence than that, but I just don't like leaving stones unturned as a trial attorney. Yeah, this little tweet saying, what about grandparents' rights if Wendy moves? The grandparent rights to Florida would not apply to someone living in Texas, and Texas doesn't have those same kind of statutes in play that that would be able to force the visitation that's otherwise, for the most part, been denied and wiped out. All right, jumping ahead here, let's see. Vida's asking, how can Rajpal be defense lawyer and for Don and also Charlie's lawyer? Charlie's testimony. Yeah, I've never seen anything so weird, but if assuming they have the same defense story, then theoretically that's I guess it's not a conflict, but there's so many convoluted issues that could come up, and it's just I don't know any attorney that be that reckless to do something like that in the states I practice in, and it's just really a real head scratcher is all I can say. Maybe he's trying to create conflicts to throw the case or something. I don't know. I mean, it's just really something that you never really see. All right, I'm not gonna comment on Tera there. Let's see. Yeah, Julie, you're asking about Georgia holding off because of the age of the boys. I don't think the prosecutors ever really consider the age of the boys or whatever, because otherwise, think about it. If you want to murder your spouse to get full custody, why not, have them killed sooner the better, so you have that many more years of not having to share custody. So I don't believe that being the case at all. I see a lot of comments like that over time where people are saying that's what they're trying to do that to help the boys, something like that. I mean, the boys are being raised in a house of killers, so you want that to. You think they're going to turn out more normal if you let them stay there longer? I don't agree with that line of thought, nor do I agree you should delay prosecution just because somebody has kids if they murdered the other parent. Okay, and she's asking, would I be a defense attorney for Wendy for $10 million? Wow. I don't care how guilty somebody is or what they've done. I should say, I take that back. There's certain types of gruesome cases, disgusting cases I will not take because I just am too morally offended by it. But so what I would say is a case like this for murder that I would be, $10 million for Wendy. I would say that would only be the case if I was her attorney and she would agree to plead guilty. So I wouldn't want to take a case like this. There's no way I'd do that for the Markells for $10 million. No, thanks. They've suffered enough. And I think everybody should have, good, zealous, robust defense counsel. But now money for doing something like that, no, it's not worth it. No way. Lily, you're asking, is there a chance Josh Dubin as Rajpal State would be second chair? Heard that Charlie Adelson affirmative affirmation defense and beat feet out of town line for involvement. I don't think that's all. I think they were just hired to be that in the initial stage of jury selection. And once the jury was seated and selected, I think that was something that was already agreed and they were permitted to leave. And but it's if that's what they sold their mock jurors, that this is the best thing, and what do you think about it? And they all agreed that was the best thing to do. Then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, just common sense tells you that's gonna go over like a lead bomb. So no chance at all. Let's see here. So plant something is saying, why was Wendy given immunity from testimony? It seems like this was an early mistake in the case. Well, I think they wanted to use her to show she was the one that most benefited from it. her demeanor and everything. Totally different type of demeanor than Charlie, but you can tell the way she acts. She has conscience of guilt, very glib about it, very much snarky about Dan. You can just see the seething hatred again that she has for Dan, who she calls Danny, and juries see right through that. So I think that's a strategy they use, and they're going to stick with it and keep using her. So it's just taken way too long. They should have these things charged, if not simultaneous, at least have a couple months stagger between them. They should have been done many years ago. Anyway, those who follow the channel know my spiel on that. Wayfair is asking, well, how big a deal with Donna saying everyone looks to protect you? I bet you have a lot to think about, be at the trial. I think for Donna, I don't know that they need to go into those kind of jailhouse calls like that, but I think that yeah, it does make it look like, hey, we did this for you. We're protecting you from being prosecuted, and you don't even have the common courtesy to ask about how your brother is. So in any event. Yeah, I don't know what cat's behind me. Somebody's asking if that's Leo. I can't see behind me, so I don't know. Blair's asking, is there a chance even slim that Charlie gets out on appeal? No, I don't see that happening at all. So not a concern of mine. Okay, let's see. So Pat Hanson's asking, can Charlie refuse to testify? I do believe he could refuse, but Charlie, he wants to testify. So if they got him down there and he's in the courtroom and his mom's maybe going to go up in flames like he did, then he may, demand to do it. So we'll see what happens. Of course, he's got to consult his attorney, Rajbaum. So who knows what will happen? Remains to be seen. So G. Road's asking if Charlie takes the fifth and Donna trial's not going to bed. Well, he's not going to take the fifth on the witness stand. They don't do that. If someone is going to invoke their Fifth Amendment rights, then basically that's normally known about ahead of time, and that person's not then called as a witness, so it doesn't become an issue. And like I say, Donna's going to go down either way, whether he testifies or not. It's going to be fine. And I think it's actually going to be worse if he testifies for Donna. So Sarah Howard's asking, do I believe that Katie McManus' brother may have more information about the payment of the Katie's legal fees? Yeah, I think so. I think that's possibly the case. That's definitely something that's going to really help showing that the Adelsons are all about cover up and deflection, and that's only something a guilty party would do. So Cheryl is asking if I'll cover Donna's trial. I'll be streaming live. Will I be streaming live? Yeah. So John's got some device that he can plug in directly to the live stream down there from the courtroom itself, and I believe it's maybe piggybacked off the main one that they allow to have a camera in the courtroom. And so with that, I plan to cover the trial live. Well, John will be down there the whole time. I may just go down at the end of the trial for the arguments like I did last time. Yeah, I don't know why you guys. Some of you saying the mic's fine, others saying that it wasn't fine. Let's see here. Yeah, I already did a mic check. I don't know what else to do. Sorry, guys. I'm not tech savvy, and so his exact same replacement as the one I had before, and everything's plugged in the exact same. So go figure. Omar is asking, who do I think actually floated the idea for a murder out there even subtly? I don't know. I guess I think probably the anger that Donna has. Maybe she's the one that said it, and I think what lit the fire though was Wendy keep on egging her on. So I look at Wendy as a mastermind. She knew how to push the buttons on her mom, and her mom He knew how to push the buttons on Charlie. So it was a daisy chain type effect. Marie's asking, do I think they were called Donna? Charlie testifies when he's charged. I think that they probably would put him on the list because Charlie's on the list for Donna. So yeah, they probably roll them both up and put them on the witness list. Whether they actually testify or not, I think is too iffy. But I think having them there on standby is definitely a smart move. Ashes, you're asking about if when he's tried and convicted, wouldn't Texas law dictate the grandparents are able to take care for Ben and Lincoln? I think that's totally a Child Protective Service issue. I don't think there's any statute that automatically triggers that. So that remains to be seen. All right, I'm tired of asking, will Harvey be there watching his whole family as they really are? And I just don't think that, if I was the prosecutor, I'd put him on the list and make sure he's not able to watch the trial. Or else, I guess the other school of thought is don't put him on the list. See if he shows up, and he shows up, the jury is going to see him, and they're going to they're going to be staring at him a lot when different information is coming out through other witnesses. They're going to be thinking, why isn't this guy charged as well? So, and they're going to think he looks guilty. So yeah, it's a win-win scenario for the prosecution, whether Charlie's here or not. Sample one's asking, could Donna suggest that Charlie testify against her so that she can benefit? Well, the problem is that when you have the same attorney for both y'all, for both Charlie and Donna, the way it works ethically in my state jurisdiction is pretty much universal across all the states, is that you cannot have one witness roll over on another, especially on a murder case. So if, for example, if Charlie said, hey, if you called Rashma and say, hey, I want to testify against Mom, Rashma would automatically be convicted. Conflict there, and he would have to withdraw from Donna's case as well. So yeah, this could get mucked up if there's some kind of conflict like that, where Rashma has to withdraw. And so anyway, it's just that's why I was saying that the state and the judge should have done a better vetting of the waiver of this conflict of interest that Rashbaum has between Donna and Charlie, because it's a constitutional magnitude issue. That's how critical it is. And anyway, I think ultimately it won't be such an issue because he's not going to want to roll over just yet. Yeah, Claudia, you're right. Charlie did say it would take a miracle, so I remember that. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Yeah, Matt, you're asking, are Latin Kings threatening Wendy and Harvey? I have said that I think that the most dangerous place in all the United States for Wendy to reside, and also Harvey, is in South Beach, Miami area, because that's exactly where Latin Kings are. And you never know when some kind of hit could be put out, or maybe they just go ahead and extort them. Yeah, I think Omari, it would be nice if Wendy was arrested after testimony, being there in Tallahassee for 2 years till her trial happens, and then I really think it's going to happen real soon. I think the government is really ramping up their motivation, and I think they're going to do what they can to redeem themselves from sitting on their hands for so many years. Just means asking why I think Katie's holding back. That's one of the weirdest things about this case. I've never seen such bad example lawyering, as I've said before. And so why Katie wouldn't realize now she needs to get better counsel. And I don't know, it's just really bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. Yes. I will say please be patient with me. We'll get the sound thing better, okay? A lot of expensive equipment. I don't know why it wouldn't be working, and so please bear with me. Thank you. Let's see here. Yeah, Caroline, you're saying that Wendy's the one that made the hitman joke. She's the one repeating it. None of Charlie's friends have heard that before. Charlie's not repeating it. So yeah, that's probably accurate. She was looking ways to throw them under the bus. To have plausible deniability for herself. What kind of person would point the finger at a parent or a brother, that kind of thing. So. Leslie Ann's asking, do you think that the Adelsons, up to all four of them, are communicating secretly through Rashomon attorney-client privilege conversation? Well, I don't think that it could be secondhand. I don't think he's going to be able to have them communicate directly through use of cell phones. But I would say that I think there is some communication with, not among the Wendy directly, but I think through her attorney, John Morrow, there'd be communication. But that might even wane too, because now that she's basically ghosting her mom. Her mom's been in there for a long time now. She's had 0 visits to her mom. She's not trying to contact her at all. Okay, sample 1, you're saying you meant that Donna would fall on her sword for Charlie. She could suggest to Charlie to provide testimony against her so that Charlie could benefit. Yeah, it's not going to matter. No matter how they try to slice and dice it and put a spin on that wiretap. The wiretap, that's gonna seal their fate. She's going down. There's no two ways about it. Go George Haskell with Wendy's move to Texas by her time and protect her name in a legal way. I don't see that happening. It's going to take a longer time if she didn't show up to trial to get law enforcement involved, the court involved in Austin or wherever she's at, to have her brought into court. Yeah, Illinois Gardner is asking, what is the chance Wendy steps up and turns on everyone else for a deal? I think there's 0 chance of that. I think she'll go down swinging, but she will be convicted ultimately. There's no doubt in my mind. The evidence right now is based on them arresting Donna and getting that search warrant on the house there that Harvey and Donna lived in. I think that's going to be really beneficial and just build up the case that much stronger from what we saw last time. Vita saying no regrets. They were on the run and they blame the jury. Yeah, there's no self reflection. There's no accountability. It's like, hey, look, maybe this whole story is so far fetched, but maybe Charlie thought it wasn't far fetched because the jury consultant team said, "Oh yeah, we have folks that we tested it out on that believed it." So I don't know. It's just very, very, very strange. There's so many strange twists and turns in this case. We'll never find a more of a bewildering saga of how this case is developed after the most bizarre and heinous murder. All right, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start to wind this up. All right, we're at 9:45 here. Debbie M is asking, have I heard anything about Katie's appeals from Charlie's trial? Yeah, I've not heard anything about that. Don't have anything to share on that. Some of these appeals are taking longer than I thought they would. Yeah, Vita's saying that they could have Charlie testify through a video call. They don't have to bring him. I mean, if both sides agree to that, that's a possibility. I would not do that to prosecution. I'd make him show up, even if you got to pay the $10,000 to the federal marshal folks to fly him back down to Leon. That's what I would do. Sorry, we're at 9:46. Maria's asking, did Wendy ever return Dan's grandmother's Holocaust ring to the parents? No, she did not. The whereabouts is unknown, and what she did with it, how she disposed of it, or where she stored it, we do not know. And that is one of the things that I hope they bring out at trial. They did not bring out Charlie's trial. I think that's really such a despicable move that it just goes to show to the other hatred, and anything you can show about the hatred of any of the Adelsons against Dan Markel and his surviving family, I think is a huge benefit to bring out at trial. All right, Leslie Ann, you're saying several theories out there that Wendy found Sigfredo Garcia on Katie Martin's McManus Facebook and secretly started communicating with him directly to plan the hit. I think it's very possible to you. I don't think they did a search warrant on Wendy's Facebook, but maybe they did. I just don't. As a possible, I guess anything's possible in that regard, but I just don't think she was going to reach out on her own. I think she was desperate enough that she could have done that, but I really think that they relied on Charlie's contact with Katie. And we did see the beach photo with Katie rubbing shoulders with Wendy there, and Wendy's got this big smile on her face. So yeah, there's something fishy about that. So I don't know if we'll know about that in any of the upcoming trials, but interesting theory nonetheless. Sarah Howard's asking, will Detective Eisen be called to testify about how Wendy's reactions were when she called Donna and Harvey, make sure she had her own secret? I think they're just going to introduce a video of that for her trial, for Wendy's trial. And it's a lengthy one, and I would maybe have an expedited version where they cut out some of the dead spots in there, or else play the whole thing if the other side doesn't object. But there's a lot of good nuggets in there that indicate involvement. Yeah, Vita, you're saying that Wendy's probably kind of with the but she's burner phones and WhatsApp all the time. She slipped Monroe in the interview. That's where the hotel was. Yeah, so she mentioned Monroe. I mean, Monroe's out of the way. It's the hotel where the killers resided at. That's really a eerie thing, and I think it's definitely damning to her. And I think that's another golden nugget to bring out against her in her own trial. Yes, Sarah. The thing is, Dan was getting ready to file a motion. In fact, his attorney Daniel Webster was supposed to file it the day he was gunned down in his garage there. So things are really heating up. Wendy was going down bad, and Dan was having enough of her hijacking his visitations from the boys, and he was calling her out in court. And he'd also mentioned that she could possibly lose her job the way she's acting so ridiculous and not compliance with the custody order. Applejack, you're asking about Tera Kaah's attorney-client privilege. Can she call the witness? Well, if she's allowed to talk about stuff that Tera's released her to discuss, then that is waived. So she could waive it. She's not the attorney and never has been the attorney for any Adelson. So if she was an attorney for an Adelson, yeah, that would be problematic. Attorney-client privilege would apply, and she would not be testifying. Yeah, and as far as Sigfredo, why doesn't he testify at all? That's a real head scratcher. I mean, when you consider the fact Sigfredo wouldn't roll on to any of the Adelsons, I don't know what kind of deal he might have been offered, but surely they would reduce his sentence, and assuming he had something valuable to offer against any of the Adelsons. But he was isolated and didn't really have much information on the Adelsons that maybe they wouldn't offer him anything other than what he got sentenced on. Yeah, there's I would say I would say Wendy's really got to be really in a flight mode right now. I think she's really getting scared. I think she's thinking about the kind of questions she was asked before, and they keep ratcheting up the questions, making them tougher and tougher on her. I hope they bring up more about her book, the things she indicated in her book she hated about Tallahassee and Dan. So that would be even better to bring that up, and she'll lie about it if they can. So you might as well bring in all these key portions of the book. Okay, Sarah Howard, you're saying Wendy's actions during her interrogation said a lot about her involvement. You're not in law enforcement, you saw right through. Yeah, I think anybody who doesn't think of that as being incriminating what she says just needs to go back, and every time you listen to it, it's going to get even more and more like convincing that yeah, she was in on it. She doesn't act the right way. She's not acting shocked. She acts concerned about Dan's welfare. She's not bursting out and I got to go up and see him. And it wasn't even an interrogation. Interrogation means you basically have the information necessary to really close a deal and confront the witness on their involvement in the crime. Here, they had none of that information available, so it was more like a fishing expedition, which we call an interview. So yeah, other than that, yeah, I totally agree with you that yeah, her take is very damning against her. Yeah, Wesley, John Holmes, now that Charlie's been convicted under appeal, he's not obligated to testify as that record. That's my understanding. I know there's that statute that forces Wendy to testify. I think it would not apply to Charlie, though, given the fact that he's convicted. So I think the only way he does testify for the state is if he's wanting to on his own. So that remains to be seen. All right, sorry about some mic issues. It's my bad. I got new equipment and I don't know what to tell you. I got more equipment to set. He's going to be even better quality than what I got right here. So John found something that's going to work better. So please bear with me. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I understand. Last time you checked, Charlie doesn't appear on the South Dakota inmate directory. Anyone know why? And if he's under a pseudonym, I called him up when a day or two after he got there. When I got reported he was in the reception area there. So they admitted to me that he is actually there. And I asked about that very question: why isn't he listed on inmate search? And they said, well, it takes him some time to get him admitted on that. So. Excuse me, don't know exactly what the reason is now, but I do think that he's definitely there. Yeah, clueless beekeeping is saying, what can they do to offer Charlie to make him agree to testify? Food, what? He's in prison. Yeah, they don't do the kind of deals like they talk with food or anything like that. I mean, he's going to have to try to throw himself at the mercy of the court, cooperate, and try to convince the judge that he deserves some kind of mercy. But I just don't see that happening where his sentence would ever get reduced. Yes, Sarah, I remember those letters. Sigfredo Garcia's lawyers, they were pretty scathing to Sigfredo, basically saying he was used by the people of Miami and he should speak to George Kaufman. Yeah, and he basically said that you not willing to cooperate is the reason why you're convicted, and you had some great leverage you could use against those folks in Florida, Southern Florida, Miami area, which happens to be the four Adelsons. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't know why this desktop mic will not be working. I apologize. Let me try. Mm. Okay, testing. Is anything better now? I switched the button on a mic. All right, so anybody can answer. Do I sound better now? I switched the setting on this this soundboard device. Echo's gone. Okay. All right. Anybody give me a sound check here? Okay, it is better. Okay, thank you. Somebody's saying still echoes. Anyway, I apologize for that. But if you have any other questions, we're almost at 10 o'clock here. If you want to throw in any last questions here before I sign off. Yeah, well, I do want to have a good quality mic. Thanks to you guys for your you looking past that. This microphone's gonna be about $5, okay? $5,000. All right, does sound better. Okay, thank you then. All right, any last question? I'll ask one last final question. Anything about the Adelsons, a murder case coming up with Donna Adelson? Thanks for your guys' support and all this conversation we have about justice for Dan Markell and all the other Markells that are mostly in Canada who have had such limited visitation with the two surviving boys for Dan Markell. So I would say that you know, you guys support, and also the Markells do follow this channel as well. So we've had Phil pop up on here before, so so they probably know a lot of your name as well. A lot of you guys are like household names for me, supporting this cause, and that's great to see. And I'm sure it's great to see for them. So I commend you for that. And let's see, I'm going to ask this one here. Yeah, Life 30 saying if Charlie refused to testify, could Georgia mention that the theory isn't being defended by him, so it all can't be true. Now, as a prosecutor in America, you cannot hope think something the defense normally think, well, they didn't call any witnesses. They have failed to establish that, you know, Charlie was actually extorted or robbed or whatever they want to call it. But so the burden's on the state, so you can never point the finger at defense, say the burden should be for the defense, and the defense hasn't met their burden. So the burden's always with the state, and unless there's something like self-defense or something like that, you can have shifting burdens and stuff like that. Depends on what's raised as a defense. But overall, you're not going to poke finger and say, well, they haven't proven this or that or the other because they failed to call people to corroborate it. So it's really sort of on thin ground. But you can do a workaround where you just don't outright say they have not called a single witness to establish this. At least that's the way I do it. So in any event, Julie's saying that Wendy not finding her kids after the police tape on the street is most damning evidence of all. I think that's I call it 1B, 1A is her actually just going by there, the 1 in a million chance that she's going by there when it's 40 minutes out of the way to go do her errands that she was supposed to do. So, and Sandy's saying, do I think Donna will take the stand? Yeah, I think she's going to take the stand. I think she believes in herself. I think she believes whatever she says, people believe her, just like Charlie did. So that's where Charlie gets it from. And yeah, Patricia, I think you're saying here, Charlie said Katie spent 5 minutes outside before agreeing to the deal. Yeah, for the payments kind of thing. Yeah, and I mean that's the other thing they could have asked Charlie on cross-examination. It's like, oh, okay, so you didn't have enough cash to agree to the third of $1 million that they were demanding, so you had her go back out and negotiate the payments. It's like, oh, okay, well, the fact is, how would she have, why didn't you find out right then and there who she was contacting? Why would you let her go out alone and not be listening in and stuff like that? So, I mean, there's all kinds of details, the devil's in the details. The more you peel back the onion on those kind of just out of this world crazy stories that Adelsons have been testifying to, the better off you'll be showing this to the jury and making them just like, be so ready to convict. I guess I got some more questions here. Rocky Rabbit, yeah, you can have people testify if it's agreed to by the parties. I just don't know that the state would agree to it if they could have a chance to make Charlie come down there and be right in the same cell as his mom, but he wouldn't be able to see her. I think that would be a really, I think a real irritant for Charlie, and I think it's a good move to make. You're asking here, 79, what I think the defense theory will be. I think it's going to be something similar to what they raised before, because you got Rochbaum, and it just maybe going to try to come up with a better jury. There's some other ways they could try to wrinkle it. I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to give them any credence, but I do think that, let's see. Yeah, I'm tapping the mic. I don't hear any difference. I don't know what that means. Let's see here. The audio sound check, yeah, it's showing that the mic is working, so I don't know what to tell y'all, but thanks for your patience. With that, folks, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here, but thanks again for your support, and stay tuned. We'll have more coverage on this case as days unfold here. Thanks. Have a good night and a great weekend.